Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste everybody. First of all, thank you Shrikant Dada for giving me this platform of Shri Yoga to contemplate what has been on my mind based on the question our brother Govind Dada has asked. So I'll repeat the question first and then we'll try to contemplate. So the question asked was, please explain in layman's language, giving a few examples, what do you mean by subjective ultimate truth within us and how to discover that? That would help most common humans similar to me to understand and follow the path to seek that. Thank you. Subjective ultimate truth. Before we contemplate on this topic, let me just tell you a story. There were 10 students in a Gurukul, in a small academy. They used to study at the Gurukul, and during the holidays they would go home. So the Gurukul happened to be on the other side of the river, and they used to stay on this side of the river. Okay, so they had to cross the river to go to their Gurukul and back home. All right. So one time after their semester was over, they wanted to go home and they started walking home, and then they ultimately came to the river and they started swimming. So once they started swimming, once they reached the other shore, they looked at, you know, the whole crowd and they thought that one person was missing. Okay. And then they started counting. So each of them counted. Okay. So each of them counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And he said, wow, 10 people started and only 9 reached. So where is the 10th person? The 10th person must have drowned. Okay. So started becoming uneasy. Each person did the same thing. Each person counted and each person was able to count only 9. They were all very disturbed and they started wailing and crying. So one villager came by and he asked these boys, what happened, boys? So the boys explained that, we came here, but one of us has drowned. I'm so sorry, where is he? How can we find him? And all those things. So the old man, villager, he knew better than these guys, right? So he said, listen, nobody has drowned. Don't worry. Okay. There are 10 people. I'll tell you how. So he held the hand of one of the boys and then he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then he took his own hand and he put it on the boy's own head. This is the 10th man. Okay. So what happens is when we are searching for something, when we are looking for something, we are always looking for it outside. Okay. So as long as we are looking for it outside, we cannot find it. That is the trouble. From the very beginning, from our childhood until now, we have been used to looking for things outside. Why do we do that? Because our sense organs are always outward looking, outward looking. So with our eyes, we can see the outside world, everything that's not the eyes, correct? With our ears, we can hear the sounds from outside. With our tongue, we can taste something that is not a part of our body, which is a part of the world. We can smell something that is outside, and we can touch something that is outside, correct? So we are always used to experiencing things that are outside of us, that are other than us, that we consider to be other than us. Okay. In this whole process, we completely miss the one who is actually experiencing. That is what happens. So when we are born with a very vivid experience of the world because our sense organs sense all these 5 different things. In Sanskrit, they are called Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Shabda means sound, Sparsha means touch, then Rupa means vision, Rasa means taste, and Gandha means smell. So we are getting only these 5 sensations. at any given point of time. Even right now, you are getting only two sensations, Rupa and Shabda. So you are looking at my image on the screen. That is creating an impression in your vision center. And you are listening to my words or the sounds that are emanating from my words, from my mouth. That those sounds you are listening to or you are hearing, those sounds mean English words. And these English words form a sentence, and the sentence means X. This entire projection of your own experience of sound is happening in your own mind. You get it? So your eyes are looking at a shape and the colors, Rupa, that is creating an impression in your vision center. And the sounds you are hearing are creating an impression in your audio center, isn't it? So we have studied that, or we have learned that we experience the world, or you are experiencing this talk right now only as two sensations, sounds and vision. Okay. So you are interpreting that Vikram is talking to you from Pennsylvania on such and such topic. So this is your own projection. So the world we see outside is really experienced by us only as its images in our own mind. And to those images or to those sensations, we interpret as world. So the world doesn't appear to us the way the world is. The world appears to us the way we are. Now, I'll give you an example. The example is just any woman you see. Okay. So this woman is created by nature. Okay. But when I look at this woman, if I'm her father, then this same woman appears to me as my daughter. And if I am her son, then this same woman appears to me as the mother. So to my mother, I look at her as my mother. My father looks at her as her husband. I mean, as his wife, because he considers himself to be her husband. And my mother's father would look at her as his daughter because he is her father. So these relations are relative. So we look at the world depending upon how we relate ourselves to the world. So what happens is we mistake the world as a means of enjoyment or a means of joy or a means of happiness or a means of sukha. Okay. What we think is whenever anything in the world comes in contact with our sense organ, then I get a sense of pleasure, isn't it? So that's why we are always seeking pleasurable experiences and we are trying to avoid unpleasant experiences. So right now it is summer, so the air conditioning in the house feels very good. But will you turn the air conditioning on during the winter? No. In the winter, the heat will feel good. Correct? So we will try to change the situation in the world so that it becomes more pleasant for us. So we have a pleasant experience of life. That's what we do. Correct? So that is sukha for us at the physical level. Now, at the next level, when we are dealing with people, then we think or we expect that the people around us should be nice to us, should be pleasant towards us. Can we really have any control over that? Can we control that? I don't think so. Those people are not furniture that you pick up from one place and keep it at another place. No, people are not furniture, right? People are people. So they have their own mind and their own ways. So if you want them to be pleasant with you, that expectation itself is unreasonable. Expectation is reasonable, but whether they will actually do it or not, it's not under your control. Okay. What is under my control? Under my control, I can be pleasant with them. That is under my control. So if I can do just that, that will be great. Now, whether the other people will present themselves to me in a pleasant manner or not, that is up to them. It has been my experience that if we are pleasant to everybody around us, then generally people return that favor. So when you are walking on your morning walk, wherever you are, if you meet somebody, if you just say good morning and say hello and smile at them, They will smile back at you. Why not? So we want pleasant experiences at all times. So we want our body to be in a pleasant condition. Then we think that we are sukhi or we are happy. Our mind has to be in a pleasant condition. The situation around us should be good. Then we are happy. And even at the adhyatmic level, at the deepest level, we want to make sure that we are at peace. Okay. So how does this peace happen? Let us think. This peace happens only when we don't have any desires in our mind. In fact, this peace is experienced by all of us when we are in deep sleep every night. When we get tired of doing whatever we are doing during the day, at night we just go back under the covers on a nice bed, under having a nice pillow under the head, go to sleep. Everybody wants to go to sleep, likes to go to sleep, because in deep sleep we enjoy bliss, because in deep sleep there is no desire. So what we try to do during the waking experience is we try to fulfill our desires, thinking mistakenly that the desire fulfillment is going to lead to happiness. What actually happens is, at the time the desire is fulfilled, the desire for that particular thing is eliminated. So for example, if I wanted this phone, so before I had the phone, I had this desire in my mind. I had this agitation in my mind that I have to have the phone, have to have the phone. So go shopping. Now I have got the phone. I got the phone, I ordered it, it came. Now the phone is mine. So what has happened? Desire has been fulfilled. But at the same time, the desire for that phone has been eliminated from my mind. So for some time, I feel good. The trouble is, whenever one desire is fulfilled in this world, another desire is lined up behind it. So once I get the phone, then I have to have the cover, then I have to have the glass protection and all those things, right? And I have to, if the phone is very expensive, then I have to have the insurance also. So while I was trying to fulfill my desire, I had to make arrangements, earn money to make sure that I had enough money to buy the phone. While I have the phone, I have to make sure that I'm able to maintain it, and also nobody should steal it. So the process of procuring the phone had some sorrow associated with it. I had to make an effort, right? So it was not easy. Then I have to maintain it. There is a tension. So there is some sorrow there also. And if the phone is lost, then of course there will be sorrow. Or if I myself disappear before the phone disappears, forget about the phone. Let's think about the house. Yeah, I live in a nice house. You also all live in a nice house, right? So if you are really infatuated or in love with your house, if you are really attached to your house, then the house may outlast you, correct? You will die before the house disappears, isn't it? Then what? So the dissociation of my belonging also brings sorrow. So the thing I had imagined was the source of my joy or source of my happiness is actually the source of sorrow or misery. See? And this is true with everything in the world, everything in the world. Because we want things in the world to remain as they are permanently with us, but that doesn't happen. Things in the world are impermanent. I mean, they may last for a short time or long time, but they are impermanent nevertheless. Everything is impermanent, including so-called avatars. The so-called divine principle has taken all kinds of avatars, Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar, Narasimha avatar, all of these avatars, Rama avatar, Krishna avatar. Where are those? Krishna's Dwaraka has disappeared. It sank into the ocean. What happened to Rama's Ayodhya? You know, there has been so much political back and forth on that, isn't it? So the physical Ayodhya, the physical Dwaraka, the physical Krishna, the physical Rama is temporary. Whatever is born in the world has to die. Whatever is created will be destroyed. Our problem is we want this changing world, this impermanent world, to be permanent and to give us permanent joy. That is our problem. So we are looking for something somewhere where it is not. One time what happened, Shankaracharya, our guru, Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, he was looking for something on the street in front of his house. Okay, something he had lost. So then one of his disciples asked, Guruji, what are you looking for? He said, I have lost something. Whatever he had lost, he said. And then the Shishya or the disciple asked, Guruji, where did you lose it? He said, I lost it in my house. So then the disciple said, Guruji, you seem to be very smart, but why are you acting so dumb? If you have lost it in the house, look at it in the house. Why are you looking in the street? He says, no, in the house it's dark, but outside there is light. So with this logic, can he find the thing that he has lost where it is not? He cannot. So our trouble is we think that the joy we want is in outside world, in things, in people, at places, in situations, in things. That's not true. What happens when we actually get this one? What happens when the desire is fulfilled? What actually happens? What is happiness? What is joy? That joy is the cessation of the agitations in the mind. So my mind was disturbed because I had this desire. It was working. I want this, I want this, I want this. So this agitation, I want this, comes to a standstill for some time when we obtain that thing. That is what happens. So the desire fulfillment is not the cause of joy. Cause of joy is desire elimination. Now, if we can live like that, then how nice it will be, isn't it? So as long as we are looking for joy in things outside, it will be relative joy, relative happiness. Okay. The same thing that makes me happy may not make somebody else happy. Some of you are here because somebody has forced you to come here. Chalo na, let's go. So those people will not be happy. They will think, when is this lecture going to end? I will go do something else. I will watch something else on the TV. So the person who is sitting here willingly, joyfully wants to listen to what is being contemplated. They are happy because this talk is making them happy. And the person who wants to do something else, or will do something else, or is doing something else. I mean, we would have invited maybe 200 people, but only 58 are here right now, including me. So where are the other people we had invited? They are doing something else because they are finding that to be more enjoyable. So those who are not here, we cannot blame them because they are seeking exactly what we are seeking. As long as we seek something not at the place where it is, we will never find it. If you think that this talk is making you happy, that's not true. The desire for listening to this talk is getting fulfilled, and at the same time, the desire for listening to this talk is also getting eliminated. So at the end of it, you'll say, okay, great. I had this desire to listen to this talk and I came, I enjoyed it. Great. If you want to listen to it again, I'll have a recording on YouTube. So don't worry about it. So the bottom line is, as long as we think that happiness is happening because of something other than us, until then happiness is relative. But when we realize that the happiness is not because of the fulfillment of the desire, it is because of the elimination of the desire from my own mind, and therefore my joyful nature manifests at that time. So joy is within me, which is manifested whenever I don't have any desire. Whenever I'm cool, I'm joyful. There was a person sitting under a tree in a rural area at some point. Okay. And a high flying corporate consultant drove by and he looked at this old man. He said, what are you doing? He says, I'm just enjoying. No, no, no. You should not be doing like this. You should be working hard. He says, why should I be working hard? He says, if you work hard, then you will earn a lot of money. Yeah, you will earn a lot of money. Then what will you do? Then you'll go on a vacation. Okay. And then what will you do? And you will sit in a beach chair or whatever and enjoy life. He says, I'm doing that just now. Why do I have to go through this whole rigmarole to have that peace of mind or joy? Hmm? There is no reason. So the one who has found the joy from within. In Gita, in the second chapter, Bhagavan says, Arjun actually asks this question to Krishna. He says, please tell me the person who has joy and equanimity, peace of mind, how does it be? How does he behave? How does he walk? What does he think of? How does he speak? All kinds of things he asks. Arjun says, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. That's what he asks. So Bhagavan says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamano atmanyaiva atmana tushta sthita prajnasta dochyate. The person from whose mind all desires have been eliminated and who is completely absorbed in his own true self. The own true self is the one who is enjoying all these experiences. Actually, it's even deeper than that. Govind Dada had asked me the question, what is this subjective happiness? The subjective happiness is the joy within. Okay. That joy within each one of us has experienced in bits. But we think that the joy is because of the things in the world. No, no, no. That joy is within us. That gets manifested whenever we reach a no desire state for however long. So, Govind Dada, you had a question. So, why don't you unmute yourself and ask? No problem. I think I have done enough contemplation for 20-25 minutes. It's about time. I'm going to allow people to unmute themselves. So, go ahead and unmute yourself and say hello. I
Yeah,
hope.
hello.
Namaskar.
I complete.
I hope
But
I've tried to answer your question. I hope
yeah,
you are satisfied. Not
not
fully.
really.
That's
I mean,
okay.
yeah, okay.
Let's.
I mean, any answer will not be 100% satisfactory. Okay, you
That is
understand that.
okay.
Okay, yeah.
Correct, correct. Go ahead.
But I have one more question there. That you said, and it's just like philosophical spiritual approach. We have learned this ages and ages ago that desires are the main culprit. If we can eliminate them, then we can reach peace and happiness. But to say is very easy, but how can we do that in day to day life when we are circling around whatever is happening around us? It's very
Okay.
difficult.
I
Yeah.
understand. See, it can happen. We can do that if we understand the mechanism of happiness or the mechanism of joy. If we understand that happiness is not happening because of that thing. So, for example, you may enjoy a cup of tea. All right. And somebody else may not like tea. So, the same cup of tea will give you joy, but it will make the other person miserable. Maybe their acidity will go up or whatever. Correct. So, if happiness were in tea, then the tea should have made everybody similarly happy. Correct. So, the happiness is not a quality of the tea. The happiness is somewhere else. That is, of course, understandable, right? If we understand this mechanism, that my happiness is not because of something other than me, only then I will start contemplating. Then what happens is, to do this in day-to-day life is, first of all, we should recognize the limitation of worldly things to provide us the kind of joy or security or happiness we are looking for. Okay. Secondly, we should understand the nature of worldly things as impermanent. So we should not be looking for permanent joy in impermanent things. If we give only as much importance to worldly things as is really necessary, as they deserve, only then we can find what we are looking for. So Praveen wanted to say something. Praveen, go ahead, please unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Great to hear from
So,
you.
uh, Dada, and I know a lot of people in this call are seeking the same thing that probably I am too. I will share what I have understood so far. And so, and this may sound like a lecture, but please bear with me because I'll get to the answer that Govind Dada has. actually raised about desires. So we have to first understand that our mind is the one which tells us that we like something or we want to avoid suffering. So seeking pleasure and avoiding pain or suffering, and sometimes seeking pleasure itself can cause the suffering. For example, I want an ice cream, but I cannot have it because this lecture is going on, and as long as Praveen is talking, we cannot go and have our ice cream. So Praveen is causing us suffering. That also could be the case. So pleasure can also lead to suffering. The thing is, who is really having this desire, for seeking pleasure or the suffering? So we have to understand that. Now, first thing is, when we were a small kid, we were told that my mom used to ask me, Praveen बाळ तुला भूक लागली आहे का? And I used to say की प्रवीणला भूक नाही लागली. म्हणजे somewhere I had not accepted the identity of Praveen. But now, since then, till this particular moment, I have gone through multiple identity acquisitions. So, for example, I became my parents' child. So, I realized these are my parents and I am their child. So, a son. Then I went to school, I became a student. Then, even in this particular conversation, I am one of the participants. So, that is also an identity I have taken. And as we keep on acquiring these identities, the identity's job, as long as we are in human form, there is only two jobs that our identity, or ahankar as we call it, allows us to do, and that is to seek pleasure and to avoid suffering. Now the thing is, our desires will always be there as long as we are in this human form. Now enlightenment is to understand that we are nothing but these layers of identities, and as long as who is the identity, which is the identity which is causing this desire or the causing me the suffering, as long as you can. And this is exactly what Raman Maharshi's who am I, or Nisargadatt's I am that, uh, alludes to, saying that who is really the person who is asking. I'll give you another example. The other day I was driving the car, and my daughter, who was sitting next to me, she suddenly said, Baba, ashe kai gadi chalota hai?" And I got very angry on her mentally. I didn't respond, but I started saying, why she's talking to me like that? So now you see what really was happening was, my identity of self-proclaimed drivership, which I had decided I'm a good driver, was challenged by my daughter, and I got offended by it. So it caused me mental suffering, and I immediately mentally reacted, though not physically, to her in any words. We are always getting challenged by external situations, and that is always happening because of the suffering of that particular identity which has got challenged, or the avoidance of pleasure which so suffering is essentially because either, and we are built that way because since stone age we have multiple memories, different type of, there are 8 types of memories actually: evolutionary memory, genetic memory, and so on. But our evolutionary memory itself is to avoid pain, to survive. Our evolutionary memory itself is to seek pleasure, to survive. That's where we originate from. So we can never get away from that. If we are trying to say that I want to I want to be completely blissful, yes, you can. The way I understand it is, you can attain that stage as long as you are aware that who is the person, which is the identity which is seeking the pleasure or the pain. The moment you are able to continuously identify, oh, this is the teacher in me who is getting pleasure or pain, this is the driver in me, this is the son in me, this is the moment you realize, and then you keep negating, saying that I am not that, it's just my mind which has created this identity and I'm trying to protect it, which is causing the suffering. You will soon realize that as you start peeling the onion, finally you will come down to what Dada mentioned is your inherent bliss, which is all what you are made up of, which is Satchitananda.
Okay, so let me add to that a bit. Govinda, you asked the question, what can I do in my day-to-day life to come to this realization that the joy is within me and not outside? So we have to limit our life outside to the extent we are able to. Okay. The shlok in the Gita that leads us in that direction is Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshtasya karmasu yuktaswapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha, which is the core principle of Shri Yoga as well. Yukta ahar and yukta vihar. So we should eat whatever is proper for us, whatever is suitable for our condition. I don't advocate that everybody should eat the way I eat. I eat what I eat because it suits me. You should eat what suits you. If you think that that is not working for you, then you talk to me, then we'll figure out what to do for you. Okay, yukta hara. Yukta vihara. Yukta vihara means how do we operate in the world? How do we act in the world? How do we behave in the world? So the golden rule for that is, especially between people, is you should do unto others what you would be done by. So we should treat other people the way we are willing to be treated. So if I'm giving a lecture to you, if you think that I'm giving a lecture to you, I should be equally willing to listen to your lecture. Only then I have the right to give you a lecture. So in my case, I think that I'm not giving you a lecture at all. I don't want to teach you anything. No, I'm only sharing my experience with you, and you can take whatever you find suitable for your own conditions from this contemplation. That's all. Okay. I will do exactly the same thing. You can give me all kinds of lectures, but I'm going to take only what is suitable for me from whatever you give me. Okay. So I'm going to behave with you the way I expect you to behave with me. In spite of my apparent lecture to you, if or as long as I have the feeling in my mind that I'm not the one giving the lecture, I don't think that Vikram Pattarkine is giving the lecture. I always have the feeling that the Lord is speaking. The divine energy in me speaks. I am only a medium. I am only the microphone. So, for example, this is the microphone in my headset through which my voice is going to you, right? Is my mouth speaking? No. Is my mind behind it speaking? No. The life force behind it that is speaking, the consciousness that is speaking, the consciousness is enabling all of this to happen. That is my essential nature. So, as long as I recognize myself as that, realize myself as that, that pure consciousness in me is not different from the pure consciousness in you. There are no two pure consciousnesses. That pure consciousness is all pervasive. That same consciousness appears as you and me both in my own experience. Okay. Look at each one of you. Each one of you has a unique experience. Whatever experiences you have, whatever experiences you have had from birth until now, that is the sum total of your life so far. Guess what? You don't have any other experience. You have a very unique experience of your own life. If we understand ourselves in this manner, if we identify ourselves with that supreme consciousness or pure consciousness, which is enabling all of these things to happen, in that pure consciousness, when we identify ourselves with that consciousness, when we realize that consciousness, in that consciousness, there is no you and me, there is no tu mai me at all. So the one who has realized his nature as that will never engage in any debate. Never. No debate. So if you think something about a certain issue, then yeah, you are right from your point of view. You're right. So the person who is established in that consciousness will always be cool, will always be equanimous. Sthita prajna. That is what will happen. Vishal, you have raised your hand, so why don't you unmute yourself and say what you want to say? Nice to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So, whatever question Govindji has asked, I exactly had the same question. Like I always keep on having the same question. So I'm just trying to tell my experience, what I've learned so far. So the fundamental thing is we are trying to say that I want to eliminate desire. So the word eliminate is not going to work, because at the moment you try to eliminate it, it's going to attack you with like too much of force, and then you feel dejected, and then you think that no, I'm not able to overcome it. Okay, so what I understood from my study sessions and all those stuff is that there is only one way, and we don't call it as elimination, because the moment I give signal to my mind saying that I'm eliminating it, I'm giving a hand for it to attack me again. Okay, so the only way to overcome is through vairagya. But when we the problem with the word vairagya is we are always taught with a notion that vairagya means leaving everything. But then again, upon more contemplation and discussion, what I understood is that vairagya in the sense is that you grow over it. For example, I have a kid. He is like 2.5 years old. So at the age of 1.5, he was playing with certain kind of toys, but now he doesn't play with those toys, which means he grew over it. So the desire also has this fundamental thing that it can only be taken care of by growing over it. So is my understanding in the right direction, Vikramji?
Okay, so the nature of things in the world is such that the same thing is not going to keep us continuously happy or permanently happy or even happy for a long duration of time. That is the nature of things in the world. Okay, so just like you have learned noticing your son, observing your son, he used to like some toys and he doesn't like them anymore. The same thing is true with you as well. What is the definition of a man? No, he's the same person, his toys change and his price changes. So what is the difference between a boy and a man? It's just the toys, okay? And the price of the toys. So as you grow up, the price of the toys goes up. As long as we keep thinking that things in the world, in the outside world, are going to make us happy. I'm not saying that we should live like a pauper. I'm not saying that we should live like a vairagi. Okay, vairagi in the sense you should have no desire for things that you don't need. So as long as we live at the need level and we don't covet. So the first mantra in Ishavasya Upanishad says that Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyan jagat tyena tyaktena bhunjita ma grudha kasya svidanam. Okay. So if we understand this whole world is pervaded by the divine, then we will not have the attitude of bhoga towards it. We will have the attitude of reverence towards it. And the next verse says that you should not covet what doesn't belong to you. Right? So what belongs to us? Nothing belongs to us. In this world, nothing really belongs to us. Not even our body. Our body has been given to us by our parents and by nature. So even this
Exactly.
body we cannot call as our own. Right? Who said
Absolutely.
something? Praveen, correct? Hai na?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dada. And the identification with the body and the mind is the first thing, and then the various masks that we kind of accumulate. So as long as we realize that the moment you identify with the body and the mind, it will demand something. It will have its desires, and realizing that we we are just I read this somewhere. We are not a body having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a bodily experience.
Correct. Correct. Nainate, your hand is up, so why don't you unmute and say what you want to say? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to share my experience in this field. First thing is like what Vishal said just now, regarding the desires also. Yeah, without desires, we can't climb the ladder of success. Everybody wants to have success. You need to have some desires to achieve that. Yeah, that is equally true. But what I understand by not having desires is not that you just sit and everything, your success will knock your door. It's not like that, according to me. What I think is you should not get attached to the desires, meaning if they're not fulfilled, they're not going to be fulfilled most of the time. So not to get attached to it. I mean, not to be sad. Yes, I want a nice job for which I have applied. But if I don't get it, then some people, they keep whining till they get the next job. They get the next job, but still they will look back Then, oh, that was better. So that is what that desire should not come inside you, is this. Don't get attached to those desires and be sad. Just move on till you get the next one. What Vishal said was,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, okay, like detachment, that same goes with the food also. We get attached to the food. So my experience, which I want to tell you, is I had that detachment with the food. Of course, I'm with the Sattva program with Dada. And now I know what that detachment with the food is. When I had the Sattvic Ahar, which I had never been on like for so many years. So now I'm on it and I understand how I'm getting away from the desires. It's not that I don't have, I'm a human being. I will always have some desires. But now that I'm coming out of it, now that I know what the real happiness inside me is, like listening to this or playing with my grandkids, I have 3 grandkids. So that is my happiness. Automatically, I came out of seeing TV or watching all those serials or whatever. That may be happiness to some people, but it's not to me anymore. So now I can really, really relate to not having desires. And how did I achieve it? I was a foodie. I did like food, even I like food today. But now I know whether my body needs it because of this Gita practice or whatever you call it. I know that God is inside me and I'm feeding my God. Does my God need this extra food? No, I don't want, because I like him. So that kind of teachings, when I go through, I know what that desire and getting away from the desire is. So all boils down to what you feed in, and I guarantee, your mind and everything will straighten and let you know what that is.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nanade. Praveen, go ahead.
Uh, Dada, in addition to what Nainathai just also said, let me take the same example of a professional. He wants a better job. So now let us take each one of us. We have created this identity that I am a professional. It could be an IT professional or whatever professional. And obviously, we are in the profession because we want to pay our bills. So there is an outcome related to that profession. Now we attach ourselves to the outcome, and then that outcome, the moment an identity is created and an outcome is created, it is the classic formula for a desire to get created. The If I understood this correctly, and this also is mentioned in the Gita, we talk about it all the time, karmanyevadhikarasya. It basically says that do your work without worrying about the outcome. So in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 33 and 34, they have actually specifically talked about how to do this. How can I make myself, abstract myself from the outcome? So the outcome really is that we are going to, as I mentioned about memories some time back, we are going to, our mind is the world's biggest computer, and its job is to create thoughts. It will create thoughts. If you are trying to stop it from creating thoughts, that would be a dangerous thing, because you stop your heart from beating? No. Are you bothered with the heart beating? No, that is the function of the heart. Are you bothered with the liver secreting bile? No, that is the function of the liver. Then why are we bothered with the functioning of the brain, which is the mind, really, brain in action? And the job of the brain is to cognize, is to create thoughts. The problem is when we start taking those thoughts too seriously. So we have a tool called as attention, or we can call it awareness, we can call it consciousness. But the point is, it is like a torch. There are thoughts passing by, just like you're sitting at the banks of the river and there's water flowing by. As long as you are in the banks of the river, you are actually enjoying the sights. The moment you jump into the river, it's going to take you along with where it is flowing. So real focus of it is to not get entangled in those thoughts. Now, what is creating these thoughts? The memory is creating these thoughts. I'll give you an example. You have suji ka halwa. I love shira, which is made by my wife. Every time I have that halwa, I keep thinking about my grandmother's shira, because she was the first one who introduced me to shira. And Rani, my wife, makes it so beautifully that it almost tastes like her. Every time I have Rani shira, I think about my granny shira, because it resurrects those memories, the taste of the shira. Anything we have experienced right from the moment we are born to this very moment, everything has been stored in the form of a memory. And the moment your five sensory inputs give you an input which is closest matching to one of those memories, the previous memory is going to get resurrected out. And the moment it gets resurrected out, you will start thinking about the same ajicha gharche sagre, you'll start seeing the images, the audios, the friends with whom you played next in that mohalla and everything. So what is happening is your memory is creating these thoughts, and these thoughts, we have the discretion to get attached to them or not. The moment we get attached to the thoughts, then that ahankar or that identity will immediately start taking those thoughts and trying to either seek pleasure or avoid suffering. And this will continue going on. Now, as long as we accept the fact that these identities are going to get attached to those thoughts, then you have to start asking yourself which identity and which thought did it get attached to. And this will only come through regular practices, which the starting point of which is ahar shuddhi. But as you keep going beyond, slow, step by step, you will come to a point where you can catch these thoughts, and you can even catch the identity which is demanding these thoughts. The moment that happens, then you get to that point where you start realizing my root cause of desire is that identity. I made myself believe that I am that, and now that identity is demanding. And what is it demanding? It is demanding, for example, I see my neighbor with a better car. That sensory input has gone in. The moment it has gone in, my identity of a professional or of a neighbor says that I need to get a better car now. So that is where what created the desire, the input and the identity, the combination of it. Anyway, sorry, I went on a roll. Didn't mean to.
No, it's great. Thank you for sharing your contemplation. Anyone else who has any thoughts or questions to share? Shrikant Dada? I think we've had 50 minutes of contemplation.
No, I just want to mention that if anyone has a desire to talk similar topics by either Vikram or Praveen or anybody else, I can help you to take care of that desire so we can have another session.
All right. But thank you so much for inviting me here, and thanks everybody for being so patient and listening to me. If there are no questions, then I will thank all of you and then stop this recording. We'll meet again another time soon.
Guruji, we can have a topic on memory for some of the seniors now who has a tough time remembering things. I read some comments about memory.
Okay, so maybe Shekhar Dada is the person to talk about it,
Yeah,
right?
Shekhar Dada and Praveen, they were discussing what kind of memory and stuff. So that can be a good topic for seniors.
Shekhar Dada,
Actually,
partner मैंने
I
ज़्यादा
just
तो नहीं बोल दिया.
actually I want to
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say something that on 9th of September, Shekhar is talking on the nurturing brain for the BMM Uttaranga. So if somebody is interested, because somebody was asking about the memory, please attend that lecture, because that's going to be a fantastic lecture. He's a neurobiologist and he's going to completely, answer all those questions what happens to your brain about memory and
Great.
everything.
So put some
9th of
information in that yogic neuroscience.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put that thing, but it is 9th September at 3 o'clock, from 3 to 5. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'll put that into our neuroscience forum. Okay.
Great. So I thank you everybody, and then I'll just say the concluding shlok and then we'll conclude. Okay. You have any other questions? Anybody else has a question?
Remember, I just wanted to say that we need a part 2 of this talk. I enjoyed it immensely, and it feels incomplete to cut it short, but I'm in a flight now, so
Oh,
we
okay,
need a
okay.
part 2 of
No
this
problem.
again, please. Thank you.
If you are going to be at our event on the 16th, then you're most welcome to come and talk to us in person.
I just
think-
wanted to thank for this wonderful discussion today. And also quickly, I wanted to mention whether we could also relate this to the context of relative happiness and absolute happiness, where, the main pursuit of a human being, we are being taught, and I'm learning, is to chase that state of permanent happiness or absolute happiness, and which is basically a seed of enlightenment lying dormant in many of the human beings around, and which is waiting to be tapped. So which is another way of just discussing it. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome. So Shrikant Dada, I think we could have a discussion on Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, the 4 Purusharthas. How's that? Does that make sense? This is exactly what she asked, Anjali Tai. Savita Tai, आपल्याला काही विचारायचं का? You had unmuted yourself, so why don't you say something?
I don't. Thank you.
Is that okay? All right, then great. So what we'll do, I will conclude. So let me do the concluding stroke, and then I'll keep the session open for some time so we can still talk. So no issues. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Namaskar.